Welcome back to another episode of the TikTok Famous Podcast. And I'm here with my brand new, beautiful friend, Ann Abel. I just was reading her book, High Hopes, and I am so pleasantly excited and proud to have her on the podcast today. So stay with us.
You're listening to the TikTok Famous Podcast, where viral fame meets raw reality. Join your host, Meredith Willits, as she dives deep with your favorite creators to uncover the real stories behind the scroll, the highs, the lows, the algorithm chaos, and everything in between. This is not your average interview. This is the TikTok Famous Podcast.
Ann Abel, thank you so much for being here with me today. I so am excited to talk to you. Your book is glorious, glorious.
Thank you so much for having me and for your kind words.
Oh, well, I started reading, and I was telling you before we hit live today that I read books all the time for podcast interviews. And sometimes begrudgingly, I make my way through them. But I will tell you this, High Hopes, a memoir, is a page turner. I did not want to put it down outside of life happening, and I have to deal with families and dinners and driving. But I found myself in your words, and I am so incredibly grateful for this book. Thank you for writing it.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to tell you I'm a Bruce Springsteen fan. When I was 8 years old, I got remember the boombox? I got a boombox for Christmas. And with the boombox, I got my first Bruce Springsteen tape. And it was the Born in the USA. And I played it to death. And I wish I still had that tape just for posterity to put on a wall somewhere. And I took my brother to a Bruce Springsteen concert in Philadelphia. And it was probably, let's see here, so 15... It was probably 2013. I went and saw Bruce. I might have been at the same concert as you.
Yes. Wait, it wasn't Labor Day weekend, was it?
It might have been.
That was when I had my awakening to him.
Yeah. And I have photos of my brother and I at that concert. And when you read the book, the thing that I loved so much about it is you kept explaining how you had your hands in front of your heart watching him. And that is so me. Like, I will sit there and at concerts and have my hands clasped right in front of my heart. And it's just like, you're beaming. And when I read, as we're traveling with you in your book throughout Australia, and that just resonated with me so much. And the other thing that you talked about is how your friends, so to go back, your book is about, you're in this job. And when I read, so I'm just going to give you the when I read, I left a dangerous job as a school teacher. I was like, this woman's so full of shit. Like, this is such shit. Right. And then I read it and I was like, this woman was in danger. I was like, okay, she was in danger. Like, this was a very dangerous, like there were kids that were threatening you and harassing you and putting your life in actual danger.
Literally throwing desks at me. Can you believe that?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, this was a real dangerous situation. And you just, you were done, as you should be, and you left. And then because of your depression, you are a person, and please, if you have an overbearing parent, read this damn book. Please. Because the way that you described your mother's voice in your head is so on point. And it so explains my book about programming and how that voice in your head can steer everything about the way you feel about yourself, the way you interact with the world. When you come in as your mom's voice, in italics most of the time, you're like, you're stupid. Why are you doing this? You're pathetic. You're so dumb. And I know that voice, Anne.
And it lives with you I'm 72. I still have to mute that voice.
You still have to mute that voice. And here you're doing all these amazing things. you're trying your damnedest, and she just keeps showing up in your head, and you're at these high highs.
Wait, I just want to say it wasn't just in my head. In real, it wasn't until I was 60. I went on the strip. I just cut off with them because I just wanted them to love me, my parents.
Yeah.
But it was in real time. She was putting me down. I had these amazing kids. I just kept trying to give her what she wanted, and she just got more and more vicious with me. But at least me, we're hardwired to want to be loved by our parents, and
Yeah.
I just didn't. It took me too long to figure out that it was never going to happen.
Yeah. And then the way that you needed. A lot of times that we're given not what we necessarily want, but for some reason, like, it works, like, it creates us, right? And then one day we realize that we don't want that voice to create us anymore. We want to create our own self. I personally, when I work with clients, I'm a life coach. When I work with clients, I tell people to name that voice. And so, like, mine is Vicky. And so when Vicky shows up and tells me I'm stupid, I can't do it, I'm too fat, I'm too dumb, I'm a bad mom, I'm like, shut up, Vicky. Because I want to make sure I know that that's not me. That's not me talking to me.
I know.
And that helps me to disassociate that bullshit that I'm hearing and shut it down a lot faster. Because if you think it's you, then you're like, well, God, I'm right, like, whatever.
Mhm.
But and also the box checking. So you needed an activity to feel like you've accomplished something throughout the day, which is probably why you're such a great mom, is that you were like, okay, I need to feed them, I need to clothe them, I need to change them, I can do this, I'm doing all the right things as a mom, I'm a great mom. And so during that time, it probably was like, I'm accomplishing. And then when those things disappear,
I suffered terribly with depression, and my kids and my husband, they were my lifeline.
yeah,
And but and when I was with them, it was wonderful. But you can't live, you don't live with your kids.
yeah,
And it used to be, this is until I came back from this trip to Australia. When I would meet, I felt like such a loser, just a loser. I still wake up in the morning and feel like a loser, but I felt like such a loser that when I would meet new people, and we moved to Philadelphia when my oldest was 4 and the youngest was a year and a half. Whenever I'd meet a new person, I was so proud of my kids, and they were like, through all the years, very high achieving, polite, everything. And my husband too. As soon as I met someone, I would quickly tell them about my kids and my husband, so they'd think that I couldn't be that much of a loser if I were related or connected with these people. That's how bad I felt. And actually, after I moved to Chicago, after that trip, I came back and I went to this thing where I had volunteered before, and people just started asking me about my kids, because that's what we used to talk when they, that's what I wanted to talk about, was my kids, because I was nothing. I was nothing.
And don't you think so many moms out in the suburbs feel that same way, and that's why they talk about their kids in sports and their kids' grades?
This was like, I don't know if the right word is pathological. I mean, I was inpatient in a psychiatric hospital twice, and I had 3 regimens of ECT, electroconvulsive therapy. I was really depressed. I mean, my mom, it was just horrible. And when I think back to those days, and really it was pretty much until I went on this trip, my mother would just either call me and put me under. I mean, when on Sundays, when my husband would take the kids to Hebrew school and Sunday school, and my mother would call, if she called, I would literally be on the floor when I hung up crying, and he would have to pick. She just was amazing. She was a very smart. I now know she's what you call a dark triad personality.
Okay.
Machiavellian, sociopathic, and So I forget what, but it's not good. And she was smart and really psychologically savvy. She had been a guidance counselor until she and my father started this company, and she was the saleswoman. And when I was a little girl, what she used to do is I'd come home from school, and she would talk to me and get me to talk. And when she wanted to, she would look at me like there was no one else in the world who existed except you. And it was such a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
So she did that for the first maybe 8-10 years of my life. And I spent the rest of my life trying to get that feeling back.
Yeah.
And she just got increasingly, it was almost like the more I did to just achieve and please her, the more vicious she got. I mean, really, really vicious. And I want my other book, Maddie, Milo, and Me, which came out last year. There's actually more about, the details about her and
I'll have to read that one next.
my upbringing. I mean, that's got more. Even though this was High Hopes was more, I thought it was a more mental health book, but it turned out when I wrote Maddie, Milo, and Me, which is in the middle of writing this one, it just anecdotes from my past just seemed to be needed to show why I was like that. Here, it's mostly just my mother's voice, and the fact that there's a chapter in there, inpatient in a hospital. So that kind of shows it, how bad it was, and that I had to do that.
When that woman asked you at the airport what you do, and you said, "I'm an author," was that the moment? Because she said, "I'm going to look for your book." Was that the moment when you realized you had to put this in book form, or did you already know that?
No. I didn't know any. No. I was taking it all, and she was a really I get chills just remembering that moment. She was such a lovely woman, and this conversation, I'm like, it was great when she said, "Forget Bruce Springsteen. I want to read about you." I still get the chills like that.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't thinking anything, but what I wasn't thinking, I was just getting through my day one by one. And I was realizing, though, I didn't want to go on this trip. I was terrified, but I don't let being terrorized stop me from doing anything that I think will help me. But when I came home, I didn't go to change. I didn't go on this trip to change. I went for structure and focus. Yeah. But I came home a different person. And I realized it toward the end of the trip that I had this positive ball of energy that I had never had before. Never had anything like this. And I was a little worried, like how I was going to keep this ball of energy going, which was the reason when that Barbara Carr invited me to that to this gala a month after the trip, and she was Bruce Springsteen's manager. I thought, well, that'll give me another month of keeping this Springsteen energy. But when I got home, and I was so excited to tell people the stories that I didn't realize then that I was a storyteller, but I love telling stories. I mean, I went to Chicago and learned that I am. And I couldn't wait to come home and tell people my stories. And if you read the book, I was also writing these emails. Yeah. And I had 1,000 pages of emails when I got home.
Wow.
My husband and one friend, but so much was happening. I wrote about what was happening, and I was doing a lot of thinking. You're alone for 26 days. You can be pretty introspective. So I was writing all sorts of things, and I was learning all sorts of things. But I got home, nobody wanted to hear any stories. People just wanted to see me as this depressed person. And I don't know if you've gotten to this in the book, but my first day back, my best friend came over. I brought her. Have you read this yet?
I just read when I just got to the point where you came home and Andy needed to go to bed because it was 2:00 in the morning. And
after,
and I was you. I was like sitting there bouncing off the walls with you. And he's like, "I got to go to bed." And then you're like, "All right, let's go to lunch." And he's like, "I have shit to do." And you're like, "But you don't understand. You don't get it." He's like, I still got to go to work and write a bunch of emails. And I felt for you so bad because I felt your energy bouncing off the walls and so excited and wanting to share all of your accomplishments. And he's like, "I got to go to bed." And I'm like, no.
Good. And I'll tell you, we had been married 35 years. For 2 years after my return, he was throwing, I'm not a dish though. Finally, he was throwing dishes at me. We weren't talking. He got a divorce lawyer for 2 years. Wow. It was really bad. And because people, and I realized my friends and my family, and I've been told since then that it's not unusual when someone begins to change that but there's two things. They just wanted to see me as this depressed person. No one wanted to see me And I remember even the third time I had ECT, it was outpatient, and people from the community college would come visit. And even in my catatonic state, I could see them sitting there going, oh, whoa, I thought I was bad, but at least I'm not like her. So this friend of mine, my best friend, comes over, a woman who, she was with me when I committed myself to go inpatient and have ECT. Do you know how terrifying that is to voluntarily say, yes, I'm going to do this, and yes, I'm probably, I was terrified, but
Yeah.
I was told it might help me, and I will do anything if I think it helps. So this woman who knew I had done those things, she says to me, yeah, I didn't think you were going to go. And then when you went, I thought you'd end up coming home. And I just looked at her like, you don't know. And I thought, you do not know me, and you don't want to know me. And this happened across the board with every single one of my friends in Philadelphia. And again, even Andy, it was kind of threatening to him because he was used to a certain kind of, and then he had been unhappy. He taught it. He's still at Wharton at University of Pennsylvania, and he had something had happened a couple of years earlier, and he was not happy about it. But I'm in fight or flight. I'm the fighter, and he's just go put his head in the sand. I came home and I saw how this was affecting him.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, Andy, you've got to get out of here. Go visit another school. You've got to. And he picked up the phone to the University of Chicago. Everyone loves Andy. He got this position to go visit what was supposed to be 4 months at the University of Chicago. He went into his dean, told him, and the guy said, I feel like I've been kicked in the stomach. I can't believe Andy Abel. And do you know what? A week later, Andy called me from work. He said, can't say I feel dignified, but I can say I left the dean's office with my dignity. Do you know, they gave him everything he wanted. The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I just came home, and it was like, I'm not taking nonsense from anyone. And then it was great. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do in Chicago at 8 degrees.
Yeah.
But and I signed up for improv, because what do you do in Chicago?
I just signed up for improv
At Second City.
I'm at IO Theater.
I did both.
Did you really?
Yes. Well, first of all, I was terrified of going to that my first day, but what was I going to do? And I wasn't twice the age. I was 3 times the age of the people. And I get there, and they say, oh, the guy goes, okay, slither across the room like a snake. And I'm like, I can't. And I realized, though, that if I didn't do it, I would stand out more than if I did it. So I eked it out. Actually, I got through Second City. They were a little easier than IO, but it's a great story, which I won't tell you now. But I pretty much got kicked out of IO after 6 weeks. I couldn't. I loved watching the other students. And actually, one day 6 weeks into it, nothing was coming to me. So I thought, you know what? These people are so good. This is good at any show I'd go to. I paid for this class. I'm just going to sit here and watch. And in the break, the teacher came over and he said, what's going on, Ann? You're not going up. And I mean, yeah. He goes, in my class, you get up or you get out. So I'm like, oh my God, and I'm really angry, and I'm walking out. I'm leaving here. I don't need to take this now. It's February, so maybe it's 12 degrees in Chicago. And I see the exit sign. I see all my classmates are in the lobby talking. And it's like, where am I going? These are the only people I knew. So I go over, I just put my head on the window and I lean in. I just don't know what to do. And I hear someone say, Ann, are you okay? And I turn around, and it's these 2 young ones, like 20, one's 26 or what. And I told them what the teacher said. And one of them says to me, Ann, and they're really good. They were really good. I come to improv because in my real life, I am afraid to make a mistake. So I come here to learn how to make a mistake. And the other one told me a story, and they're like, you're fine, Ann, you're fine. So then they all go back in, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? So I go back in. Is it okay if I talk about this?
Yeah, please.
So the teacher sends my group up. He puts half on one side of the stage, half on the other, and we're supposed to be jumping in and tagging each other out, until everyone's done. And people are jumping in, and they're jumping in, and I'm just nothing is coming to me. But I don't want to get kicked out of this class, and I'm the last one, the only one who hasn't gotten. And I must have heard someone say the word puppet. So all of a sudden, and it's on a stage. It's on a stage. all of a sudden I just jump out into the middle of the stage and I say, I am Moses and I have come down from the mountain. I'm making believe I'm a marionette. And then someone jumps in and we start doing a scene. And then thank God the teacher calls scene. And I literally, like a marionette, I just collapsed and then this woman comes up, she goes, oh Ann, it was so much fun doing that scene with you. I didn't remember any of it. And as I'm coming off the stage, the two students who had spoken there, oh Ann, that was so good. That was so good. Okay, we get through the rest of class. The last one leaving the class, and as my back is toward the room, I hear the teacher say, good puppet, Ann. But you know what? So I get home. I don't know what I'm going to do now for the rest of my time in Chicago. And I have a new dog walker there. So I say to her, what do you do when you're not walking dogs? And she said, I host one of the city's many storytelling open mics. And I also tell stories at the Moth. And I had never heard of either of them. I didn't know there was such a thing called storytelling. But I knew I had a story to tell, and that was this trip to Australia. And I just want to go back and say, I have terrible writer's block with parents like mine. How would I not have bad writer's block? And I had sat down about a month after my trip to try to write about it. And I opened up these emails that I had written, and I had to quickly close them because the energy and the excitement was just jumping off the page. And that's how I had felt. I mean, not all the time, and then I'd come home and just gotten hit in the face with all these people saying, no, down. And it hurt to see who I had been on this trip. So I had put it aside, but I started going to open mics and telling the story. And then a friend insisted I go with him to the Moth, and I went, and then he insisted I put my name in, which I was terrified, but I did it. And I got called as the last storyteller that night. And I got up, the stage was so bright I couldn't see that, but I told a 5-minute story about Australia and I won. And it was like, whoa, until the days each of them died, my parents told me not to talk to them because I had nothing interesting to say. But now audiences were telling me something different. So eventually they inspired me, or they made me try to see it myself differently. And eventually I thought, so I actually contacted, I thought, you know what, I'm going to become an elder storyteller. There was a man like in his 70s, I was in my 60s, and he told these great stories about life. I thought, I want to learn how to do that. So I had contacted a storytelling coach. And the first thing she said to me was, if I could wave a magic wand and grant you one wish, what would it be? And that took me by surprise. I thought she'd want to know my storytelling goals. So without even thinking, I just said to write a book. And she said, well, that's what you have to do. And for 3 months, I didn't do it. And each day, by the end of 3 months, the self-loathing was so horrible. And I work out every day, as you know, from the book. Yep. I don't question it. I don't look forward to it, but I don't question it. I do it, and I feel better afterwards. So one day, after 3 months, I just thought, after you work out, you're going to your desk, and you're sitting there for 2 hours. And I had put all these emails in a binder. And I did it. And I just started writing this manuscript, and anything that would pop into my head, I would write it, even if it didn't seem connected.
Yeah.
If I started questioning and judging it, I would just delete everything in the file.
Yeah.
And so I started writing it. And what happened was, halfway through, and now it was the lockdown. I'm living in New York. We had the COVID lockdown. And an editor had the manuscript forever. I mean, the first draft, it's 400 pages now. The first draft was 1,000 pages.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It went through. But an editor had it for so long, and it's the lockdown. And a friend of mine kept saying, write about Milo, write about Milo. It was his rescue dog I had inadvertently rescued 15 years, and I'm like, I can't write about Milo. I have writer's block. But then I found 50 pages I had written about him after he died. 50. So I wrote it, and I quickly had a beginning, middle, and end. And it seemed like a more straightforward story than High Hopes. So I thought, well, I'll try to get it out into the world. And someone I had met from the Moth in Chicago had just posted that she had a book published by She Writes Press, a hybrid publishing. So I sent the manuscript to them. and she took it. And then I went back and worked on Maddie, Milo, and Me. I mean, on High Hopes. And then what happened was after Maddie, Milo, and Me came out, the publisher said I should go on social media to promote it. And this seemed daunting. Someone had put me on Facebook 15 years earlier, but now I'm living in New York. I had another dog walker, and I went into her that afternoon and said, "Do you know someone who does social media?" And she gave me the name of this 19-year-old computer science major who did a CUNY here, who did social media for her. And as I say, his name's Arsenio. I now call Arsenio Maestro or Steven Spielberg, because we've had, in the last year, we've had 26 viral videos. And each time a video, Maddie, Milo, and Me is now She Writes Press all-time best-selling memoir. And I'm not going to say it's not a great book, but it's social. The first time I had a viral video, it was about my apartment. Millions of views, thousands of comments, and everyone's writing, "I'm buying your book." The book had been out 6 months or 5 months. Everyone's writing, "I'm buying your book. I'm buying your book. I'm buying your book." And so and I now have over 700 on the 3 platforms. I have over 720,000 followers.
Yeah.
So and here's the thing, people at the beginning, before I went viral even, people were like, "And your voice is soothing, calming, you're relatable, you're interesting." And I was like, what are these people talking about? I'm just telling this story. Because my mother's voice was, so finally, one woman, she would comment periodically. So I guess finally I said, I wrote to her in the comment, I said, "What is it about me? What are you talking about?" And she sent me an email via my website, and she said, "I'm 82, I suffer with late stage lupus, but now that I'm watching you, you are inspiring me to get up and put one foot in front of the other." And I learned that she's 82, her mother had been horrendous. And she said, it wasn't until I started watching you that I realized I don't need to live with that. And so it's all kind of, and I did a TEDx talk last week, and it was about, they asked me to do it. It was called, in Tribeca here in New York, it was Innovation and Hope. Everyone else was talking about tech and AI. And I even did a post. They wanted me to do a post. And I said, my story has nothing to do with tech or AI. And the organizer had said that the way she saw my story was that by deciding to go to Australia, that was thinking outside the box. That was like an innovation. And what I realized as I was thinking about putting this talk together, it's about transformation.
Yeah.
And for me, I realized that the transformation, there were 4 guiding principles. The first was connection, the second, perseverance, the third, openness, and the fourth is hope. And I ended by saying, even if you don't see the path to transformation, I think that the most powerful thing any of us can do is to take a first step toward a connection to someone or something, and then persevere with openness and hope. And for me, until you find the story you want to tell, because, when I went to that, and I know I'm talking a lot, but
no, you're perfect.
When I went to that first concert, I only went so I could spend time with my son and daughter-in-law, whose wedding I didn't remember because I'd been having ECT.
Yeah.
And, if we were talking, they're telling me wedding stories, showing me pictures. Some of them were pretty frightening because I was just vacant.
Yeah.
I was catatonic in these photographs. And, I felt a jab in my heart sitting there before the concert, thinking, I felt like a tourist in my own life. And then this man, the crowd rose. But I realize now that if I hate loud music, I hate being up late. I only went to spend time with them and talk to them. If when the music started, I just said, "Oh God, no, I have to sit here until the concert's over and just block my ears." But I didn't. I rose up with everybody, and then, the energy of this man energy, the enthusiasm, everything. It filled me. And I let it fill me. I was just open to everything that was coming into me. And that was the beginning of the transformation. Just after the concert, I mean, I just looked at the stage, shaking my head in disbelief that it was so possible to feel that way. I had never felt, and it was like a light bulb moment. And I'm not saying I lived the rest of my life. Once you feel something,
Yeah.
I believe it's easier to recreate it. So I've kind of gone off on a little tangent,
I
but
love it. You're perfect.
okay.
No, I love it. And one of my things is live music because I don't drink. I quit drinking 2.5 years ago. And so my dopamine hit is going to live music because of the energy of the crowd and the energy of the band. And I
Yeah.
feel alive, and it takes you out of your everyday
Keeps you
laundry
in the
dishes.
moment, the
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
Actually, one of my, I actually have a favorite reading from the book
Yes,
about,
please.
it's about the magic of Bruce Springsteen. It's
Yes.
all right. On the way to my 8th and final Bruce Springsteen concert in Australia, I thought about what blockbusters the previous 7 concerts had been. Each concert had been completely different. Mostly they had varied in the way Springsteen released his energy. Some he'd begun in high gear, others he worked his way up. Sometimes he'd gone up and down. Always he delivered heartwarming, soul-soothing, goosebump moments, but each time in a different way. Riding to the concert that night, I told myself there could only be a finite number of ways Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band could present and perform their High Hopes tours. I didn't think they'd be able to add a new or novel twist to this final concert in Australia. I knew, of course, that Springsteen wasn't going to come on stage and mechanically run through a set list of songs and sign requests from the audience. I knew he would make sure that all 12,000 of us in the audience had a good time. But I had never heard of an extraordinary baseball player hitting a grand slam or even a home run every time he went to bat. Bruce Springsteen was an extraordinary performer, but I didn't expect him to hit a musical grand slam or even a musical home run every time he took to the stage. Not every night had to be spellbinding. But that's the thing about music, the thing about Bruce Springsteen. One moment you're sitting with your feet on the ground, your butt in the chair, thinking about what you're going to eat after the concert, what you're going to do the next morning. Then Bruce Springsteen appears on stage. And when he does, you jump to your feet. You clap, you dance, you jump, you sway. Goosebumps pop up all over you. You're not thinking about the past moment. You're not thinking about the next one. You're simply and wholly in each and every moment, following every footstep, every heel tap, every strum, every word, every muscle ripple of the man with the smile. Sometimes beatific, sometimes mischievous, sometimes mournful, sometimes soulful. As you follow this man with a smile, as he anchors you to each moment, he's also anchoring himself to you. You do not feel alone. Feelings blossom from deep down within you. Some make you gleeful, some make you sorrowful, some make you wondrous. You don't think about why you feel these ways. It doesn't occur to you to break out of the moment to try to understand what's happening to you. It's enough that you are in this place at this time with this man and these people ensconced in this feeling. You do not think that you have been cast under a magnificent spell, a spell that awakens every single cell in your body, a spell that fills every single cell in your body with pulsating life. You are not thinking about feeling alive. You are alive. You are alive in the here and now. You are alive with this man, with these people. You want for nothing. You have it all. And to me, that's Bruce Springsteen's magic for me.
Yeah.
And I love it when sometimes he'll say, I can't give you life everlasting, but I can give you life in this moment. And isn't
Yeah.
that what it's all about?
Yeah.
For anything, however you find it.
It definitely gave you a new place to remember that you can get to. I talk about that a lot of times when it comes to relationships. The lowest low in your relationship, you can go back there. So if your partner calls you a negative name, that's always a possibility. But the same holds true for the highs. Like that's
Right.
always attainable. You can remember you got there.
And if you haven't gone up there, you can't you don't know what you're striving for,
Right.
you know?
Right. It's so good.
And the
I've been
power of
following.
music, right? The
Yeah,
power
I
of
mean, like, that's the thing, like, for me, because I don't drink and because I am, in the suburbs and it's the driving the same streets to the same place for the same kids' activities, you need to take yourself out of that loop. And for me, sorry, I'm dealing with some sort of cold situation. It is live music, so I will always have a concert somewhere on my calendar because it gives me something to like really hold on to that's special and it's mine and it's a place to like go and enter. So when I was reading your book, I was like, oh my gosh, this woman and I have so much in common. I did not know about your book when I was following you. I started following you for your apartment, same
uh,
as probably so many other people. And I found it intriguing and the way you were so regimented and your dogs and just the stories you were telling. And then the reason I named this Sweaters, Springsteen, and Storytelling, I named this because one of the things that one of the videos I found was a story that you were talking about a sweater that you'd given to your daughter-in-law. And I know that you got a ton of flack on that video. And I was like, huh. So when I read your book, High Hopes, it put a lot of things as just a viewer to a 4-minute, 3-minute, 30-second clip video. It gave me perspective to go, oh yeah, this woman is very, very different than what you might get in a 30-second video. And I felt for you. And actually because of the book, that when I was reading it, I'm like, oh, I want to make a video, not on you, but on the idea of we don't always understand what's going on in life. And I also know you get a lot of flack for complaining about what other people would deem as being a great life. Like, you've got this beautiful house on the beach. How can you complain?
wait, I have to start. See, that's the. I'm not complaining.
Right.
I'm saying things.
Right.
I'm not complaining. I'm saying I'm 72, and when something happens to me physically, I'm stuck. And
But
people,
that's what my point is that people think if you have money, if you're on a movie, if you're famous, you have no complaints. And if you have anything other than my life is perfect, everything's great, then you're somehow out of touch.
and I feel really strongly in being on like mental health. And so many people write, yes, I'm here in this apartment, but that doesn't, so a friend of mine once said, well, just having the money make it better. I'm not going to say it makes it worse, but
Right.
if you've been beaten down by your family, you still, and
You can go anywhere and you're still in your head.
yes, you take yourself with you
You
wherever
take
you
yourself
go.
with you.
I know, but I mean, and that's what I try to explain. Do you want actually tomorrow's post? I'm really looking forward to, because I did recently a post showing the apartment again. And I mentioned, and we showed the deck with the dog lawn and everything. And I have this new puppy, our 7th dog, our first puppy, and out of 7 dogs, 5 were rescues. Okay. So I said I was now thinking of getting another puppy. This dog I think he's an AI dog because he's so perfect. So I said I was thinking of getting another puppy next year. So people started writing to me, no, you have to get a rescue. And I started writing, and then I ended up just doing a post that at 72, I didn't think it was responsible to get I mean, if you read this book, Maddie, Milo, and Me, I inadvertently had gotten this horrible dog. He was sedated at the rescue when we got him.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the heart to bring him back. And I devoted 6 months nonstop to getting him so he wasn't dangerous mostly. Yeah. And for 10 years of my life, I took him every morning for an hour hike in the woods. I hate hiking in the woods. And in the afternoon again and I loved him. I mean, that's why it's a book. I loved him, but I'm not prepared. I'm not in any shape. Look at my, there's always something with me. So I did a post saying that I'm going to get a puppy. And they started all these comments. You're delusional. You're irresponsible. So many. You're going to die before your dog does. You have no right to do this. unbelievable. So first I'm like, oh, so you're future seers. Tell me, when I'm gonna die so I don't make plans, and I'm irresponsible because I'm delusional about my age.
Yeah.
And so for a while I started writing back to these people, and they're like, I don't understand why you're being so illogical, really rude.
Yeah.
Like, and then I would get like 50 comments from people saying how irresponsible, how terrible, and they'd all start talking to each other. Finally, so this went on for about 5 days, and finally Sunday, I just blocked all those people because I was sick of arguing with them, and then Arseni, who's now 21, and he's like a family member, and I mean it's really great, but he was over here. We were going to quote do content. He said, Anne, I think you should do a video about what these people said. So I just will see. I just did it extemporaneously. But can you imagine telling me I should get an old dog? An old First of all, this puppy window that I have, my husband and I a million times a day just look at each other smiling. He's so it's so nice for
Yeah.
us. Our grandchildren live on the other side of the country. It's so nice to have this young youthful energy, and we take really good care of him.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
You know,
I watch you playing with him in the morning. You have your routine.
I mean, I have a dog walk, 3 walks a day. I can do that,
Yeah.
So for people telling me I'm too old, I was too old at 60 to go to Australia. I don't know. Who's to tell someone you're too old? It's time you
Right.
just roll the carpet up and curl into a ball and wait. I mean, that's basic.
Yeah, the thing of it is though, is people can say whatever they want, but if without context, without walking in someone's shoes. I mean, you see it very often with like movie stars and singers and all that. People, it's easy to judge and say, you have it all. You're married to a handsome man. You're not allowed to complain. And the thing of it is mental health doesn't choose its victims by bank accounts. And I think the more that we learn and are open to understanding that you can have $1 trillion in the bank, but if you have mental health issues, that is, we all have a ladder to climb. We all have, some of it's weight, some of it's money, some of it's family ties, some of it's mental health. It doesn't matter what it is. It will find you if it's yours, and if it's your thing to break free from. And I'm just here to tell you that when I watch those videos and now have the privilege of reading your book, High Hopes, it gave me such an amazing perspective to go, like, that's cheap. It's cheap to judge her and say, oh, you have a house, then you should be happy. You know what I mean? Like, people have a lot of things all the time and they lose children. They suffer miscarriages, they have health
You
issues.
get cancer. I've had cancer. There's horrible stuff,
Yeah.
and
And it doesn't say, those things don't say you're not allowed to talk about them. Like,
right.
it
And
doesn't mean that you're just a complainer. It means I'm just telling you my
trying to
story.
share it. And, I know for me, it's validating to hear other people's stories. When Bruce Springsteen in one concert, he went back and forth across the stage.
Yeah.
He went, how do you get through the day and stay alive inside? And that was another one of those moments where I thought, whoa, if Bruce Springsteen could say this to an arena full of fans,
Yep.
I must not be the only one feeling like this. It's okay to struggle and to try and try again. I felt validated, and it
Yeah.
helped. Somehow, I'm not a psychologist. I don't know why it helps to know. But if
Well,
other
no one
people,
wants to be alone. Like, I don't want to be alone. When I read your book and I'm like, oh my gosh, her mom's voice is in her head. And I went on a solo trip to Costa Rica a few years ago. I had never done anything like that. I walked up to my husband and I go, there's this girl messaging me from TikTok asking me if I want to go to retreat to Costa Rica. Do you mind? And he's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. I had never done anything like that in my life. And through that trip, I discovered so much about myself. And then I went through breast cancer. And through that, I discovered stuff about myself. it's not like you're bitching. People would go, people could say, oh, you're complaining that you went to Costa Rica by yourself.
Exactly
Poor
right.
you. But it's
Mhm.
like, no, I'm explaining that I had never done anything like that. And then I went and it was life changing. I went through but it seems like it's a race to the bottom. Have you noticed that? It's like a
Right. When
race.
I did some of these quick things promoting High Hopes, and some of them are still going on, and I'd say, I didn't go to change, but I changed and blah, 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 whatever. And then people are like, oh yeah, it must be really tough to go first class or go to Australia and see a concert. Yeah, I bet that's really hard. Just shut
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, it's really, it's unfair.
Some people were saying to me this last week about the dog thing. You're out there on social media. We can say whatever we want. It's like, no, like, I don't know, just because I'm out there, it doesn't, I mean, one guy wrote, you have a face made for radio. And I'm like, really? Like, what are you talking about?
And Howard Stern said that too, and he's making about $150 million a year. So, okay.
I love Sarah Jessica Parker. So there was an article a few months ago, and the interviewer said to her, people are, you are on the cover of Vogue. People are really angry. They say you're just not attractive. What do you have to say to that? And she said, I just don't understand why it makes them so angry. That I'm not, like, okay, I'm not what you don't think I'm attractive. Why does it make you angry?
The thing of it is, though, you need to remember that those people, like your mother, like some mothers, they're coming from where they can come from. And that hatred and anger and frustration towards anyone on social media, that's their lens that they see the world through.
Just having these people, it just boggles my mind, the people who are posting, the people who are commenting, they wake up in the morning and their goal is to just pull people apart and either to go on and comment and say mean things or to do their own posts making, horrible, venomous things. Like, what a way to live, to wake up to do that.
But I mean, you dealt with it in your younger life. Maybe that's just you putting them there serendipitously and saying, wait a minute, have I outgrown caring?
I don't think you ever outgrow caring. I mean, I just stopped looking at these people,
I know a lot of like actors are like, never read the comments, never get in the comments because it'll make you nutso. But I mean, and I personally, like when I share stuff, like I don't share like usually my house. One time I shared a house that I redid, and it's still sometimes people remember that and they'll say, you can't say this because you have that house. And it's just like, dude, like, okay, like that house doesn't take away cancer. That house doesn't take away bad days. Like that house doesn't take away fears. Like that house is just a house.
And and these are common universal feelings and experiences that people go through. And, it's just
it's just humanity. We're going to still be human at the end of the day. With this book and your experience of the 2 years in Chicago doing the theater and putting yourself out there and storytelling and all that, where would you say you are at now on your healing journey, and how has it affected you in everyday life by going through all of these amazing adventures?
Well, I'm better than I've ever been in my life. And as I said in my TEDx talk, if at that first concert, I could never have foreseen like this transformation. People say, what would your younger self say? I say if my 71-year-old self had seen this, I wouldn't have believed it. But I think it's all, and I don't know, these books are both out now. High Hopes is promoted, it's taking on its own life. It was a whirlwind all fall, like doing things to promote it. And actually, there's something called the Moth Main Stage where they ask you to be in a show. And that was on my bucket list once, but I took it off because I didn't think it would, because it was just never going to happen. And then in September or October, they asked me to be in a Moth Main Stage in New Jersey, telling the story about High Hopes. And I will tell you, it was the most exhilarating 12 minutes of my life. You have 1,000 people and you just feed off the audience. It was wonderful. And then so there's been a lot of things where I've just been taking it one, and all these things seem daunting. When they asked me to do it, it's like, I can't do that. I was the first one after the intermission, and the producer sat down, or the director sat down and said to me, how do you feel? I said, I'm terrified. Three people had gone up and they were amazing. I'm like, how am I going to stand? But, they call your name, you go up, and then it was great. And then I had this TEDx talk last week, which when they asked me to do it, I had no idea how to do it. But I don't say no. Like, I never turned down an opportunity, and I did it, and it was great. But so I'm not sure what's next, which is pretty terrifying for me, because I do suffer with terrible writer's block, and I feel like I have nothing. The voice says that I have nothing interesting to say, and it's a really strong voice. I have found that I have liked getting up and telling this story to live audiences. I love I love the connection. It's this immediate connection you get with people, and so many people relate to it. When I told the story at the Moth Main Stage in New Jersey to 1,000 people, afterwards, this woman brought up someone who had been sitting next to her. She didn't even know, but she said during the talk, she was just sobbing. And this young woman said to me, I've never gone anywhere alone. I suffer with really severe anxiety. This is the first time I've ever gone anywhere alone. And to hear you saying this, I can't tell you how much this helps me. So, and people, it was just, so I maybe I could give more talks. You get better with it. It's practice makes better.
Well, I always look at something like, some people would talk about timelines, like jumping timelines, like it's all about, right? Like, and I always say, if you're a person that's never eaten sushi and then you eat sushi, you just jumped a timeline. So when you went and did something, anytime you go do something, you jump into a whole new person.
Yes, and you see if it works for you. And actually, so we started last December, Arsenio, on my social media, and really, I would have quit doing it before a while ago, but he's such a doll, and it's such a positive, kind people. Really, I love connecting with people like that. So we started doing last December, November, things about New York. Now, all I ever did in New York until we started doing this was during the week go to doctors, and on weekends, every Saturday and Sunday, we went to a play. I love the theater here. I love performing arts. So then our son's like, okay, and we got to start doing, people want to see stuff about New York. And I would never go stand in line. I would never go to any of these places, but we would go. And then my husband, Andy, started doing them. And I've realized that I like to share. whether it's ideas or stories or things or play, I love to share with people.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't like going to this pizza place, I wouldn't go by myself. Knowing that people wanted to see it made it fun for me. Now, Andy was supposed to go to Paris a year ago last September to give a paper, but then he had 3 surgeries in like 6 weeks. So he postponed it till June. So then in like March, someone said to me, Ann, you seem to be getting energy from doing these New York videos. Maybe you should go to Paris. Now, I still don't like to travel, but Arsenio and Andy and I went to Paris, and, I still don't like, but it was, it was good when I came home. It does broaden you. I've been to Paris before. It is, for me, I find it, so Arsenio said to me last May, I said, Arsenio, we seem to be using up New York. He said, Ann, Japan is viral. Japan is viral. So do you know what? We are going to Japan May 26th, or like 10 or 12 days. And again, I'm not going to say I'm terrified, but first of all, with health wise, and I'll be 73 when we do this, and I have my issues. But do you know what? This is what I loved about when I came back from Australia. Like, to me, before I went, it was just this island somewhere. But as soon as I came back, I'd had things about it in the paper, and I'd want to read it. And actually, back then, this is 2014, I'd see all this stuff about China, but I didn't understand China. And I got Andy in 2015. We went to China, and he gave papers at universities because I wanted to be, and when we got to Tiananmen Square, I started crying because I had been in such a cult and just, such a mess. Like I didn't, I was like Rip Van Winkle about what was going on in the real world because I was just struggling so much and standing there in Tiananmen Square thinking about what had happened there. And so it was really like so opening to go there. And I'm already find myself more pulled into stories about Japan. Like just because I'm going to be going there, it makes the world seem smaller. So, when you travel.
Yeah.
So even though it's really not my thing, I'm going. And I know real tough to
Maybe
have
it's
to.
becoming your thing. Maybe instead of saying, "I hate to travel," maybe just say, "Traveling has been a challenge." Because if people
Okay.
are like, "I love to travel and I don't get to go. How dare you?" Then just say, "Traveling
Okay.
has been a challenge for me,
Well, I'll tell you,
but."
the one thing that I have to do when my body isn't rehabbing, working out is the only thing that has ever always helped me. Now, when I was really bad shape, it might only be 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 3 hours that would help me. Now, I still wake up feeling like crap. I still wake up feeling like a loser, but I turn off my brain and every morning I get myself to my workout. And I always tell my husband, I feel so horrible. He goes, yeah, this is your bad time. And even though every single time I do it, I feel better, do you know, every single morning I have to say to myself as I stand there next to the elliptical, just view this as an experiment to see if you're going to feel better. Because it's just so in me. But when I travel, like I have to do that. So, it's a crazy thing, but it's like a fix I need. It's just, I think I'm also trained psychologically and
Yes.
physically that to feel better. So I have, so whether you're jet lag. So anyhow,
I think it's fantastic. And I love the book. Love, 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 love. Like I said, I've already sent it to 2 people.
thank you.
I love the cover. I haven't finished the book. I still have 100 pages to go, admittedly. So I'm super excited to find out how you
You
I
did. It's not in the book. The
Oh,
book,
it's not?
no, it's not in the book, but that's
Can you
another story.
can you
You
tell me how you got this damn
already have
guitar?
me to tell you. So the first time after my first concert, and I became a fan. The ticket broker who had sent me who got me the ticket, wrote to me and said, "This is 2013, and there's this thing called the Stand Up for Heroes, Bob Woodward's organization, and Bruce Springsteen performs at the end of it." So I'm like, okay, I was living in Philadelphia. I had never gone alone to New York. I get there, I get to this thing, and it show you how out of it I was. So at the end of this amazing thing, he comes out with just a guitar and he sings by himself. I didn't even know Bruce Springsteen ever did that. I mean, I was just, and then they auction off this guitar, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what would Andy do if I spent $5,000 on the guitar? Well, of course, it went for a lot more. But then I kept going back year after year, and it's like the third year, someone bid on it, and they got to the price, and the guy goes, "But I want to have it. I also want a tin of your mother's lasagna." So the auctioneer, and he goes, "Okay." The next year, we go back, and the person who's winning it says, "I want it, yes, but I also want a tin of your mother's lasagna." He goes, "Okay." I go, "And I want to have it at your house." And Bruce Springsteen says, "Okay." So I turn to Andy, who's now there with me. I'm like, "Oh my God, oh my!" This is 2000 and this was 2015. No, 14. It was after my trip. I'm like, oh my
Okay.
God, can you imagine like oh my God, who alive would I want, in the conversation? Because I would research, I would do all I would come up with all these questions. Oh my God, oh my God. And it's like, okay. I said, well, just sell the farm and like, what could be better? He goes, okay, but I'm not talking about this for a year, you know. So it comes up, I get a special seat like up front. Everyone, all the ushers, I say, I'm bidding on the guitar today. I'm bidding on the guitar. And the bidding starts. And we had come up, and I would then put my head in my hand, laugh, because it was, oh my God, I wanted this so badly. And then it got to the price where we weren't going over that. So, but then she was a smart auctioneer. And what she ended up doing was two of us would, but wait, but that was it. But right away they say it's not for that. What they were going to offer you was the guitar. You'd get a signed guitar and backstage tour. He was starting the River Tour. So, and a backstage tour with Bruce Springsteen, but it didn't matter. I was so pumped. I was going to bid on anything. So I won with it. And this is a great story. Do I have a few minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So I win, okay, the adrenaline. I just put my head in my lap. They whisk Andy away because they got to get the credit card. And I'm just sitting there. And then they say afterwards that we're going up to his dressing room, which is just this. It was in the Madison Square Garden Theater. It's just a cinder block. We're going to do photo ops and you're going to meet Bruce Springsteen. Now, all during the trip, I hadn't wanted to meet him because I knew what he was like on stage. I didn't want to find out he wasn't a nice guy.
Right.
Okay, so we're back. But I'd always been wondering, like, what would I say if I ever met him? And then on the way back, it's not in the book, but I heard Kate Blanchett was on the plane, and I heard someone say to her, I know you must hear this all the time, but I think you're amazing. And when I heard that, I thought, if I ever meet Bruce Springsteen, that's what I'm going to say. So there were two couples who won this guitar, and it was me. I'm like 60 something, and I'm purposely, I always say I'm not as stupid as I look. So I had my down jacket with this little heart scarf on, and I kept it on. And the other winner, she was in her 40s with long blonde hair, and she had this blue dress with, just the cleavage hanging out. Okay. So we get up there, and I'm like, it's all surreal. And I just put myself up against the cinder block wall. And I'm just thinking, like, just take in the moment. And then he comes along. I give him my line. He goes, oh, whatever I told him. And then it's time to do our official photographs with Andy and me and him. And then I said to him, afterwards, after that, would it be okay if my husband would take a picture of just you and me? And he goes, sure. So when we do it, Andy clicks and he kisses me. And so I'm standing there with my down jacket, my heart scarf, and I'm just going to do one little tangent. And I always say, I don't know what kind of musician he is, but he is a master performer because after my trip, I went to a concert in Albany. It was the day after Mother's Day. It had been the worst Mother's Day of my life. It had just been horrible. I was just miserable. I'm up there, and he goes out to take in, the requests, and he gets this letter, and it's like pages, and he goes, oh shit. And then he's like, oh God. And then he starts reading it. And then at the end it says, I'm a big fan of my mother, and she's a big fan of yours. Would you dance with my mother? And he goes, oh God. And then he goes up to the stage, he brings her up. She's like this perfect grandmom, like with grandma jeans and white sneakers and a little bob. And he cues the band to dance will you, dance the last dance with me? And oh my God, I'm standing next to this 300-pound guy who hadn't paid any attention to me. And at one point he taps me on the shoulder to show me, look at the video. And what I say is, there was a day after Mother's Day. We all have mothers. A lot of us don't have the relationship we'd like with our mothers. A lot of us have children who don't, it's just a mess. But in that moment, Bruce Springsteen dancing with that woman's mother, he was doing with her what we all wished we could either do with our mothers or we wish someone would do with us. And it was just such a moment, he just knew how to do that. So anyhow, I got a signed guitar. That was how I got my signed guitar. I wanted him to do Dream Baby Dream. That's the lyrics, but he just covers that. It's not his lyrics. So I asked for Waiting on a Sunny Day. So that's what's written on there, is Waiting on a Sunny Day.
Does he know about the book?
No, but I'll tell you, if you have a couple more minutes.
Yeah, of course.
So you've met Barbara Carr in the book, and I end up, one chapter is about going on East Street Radio, because I won that to co-host on East Street Radio, which is a great story, which I won't go into now. So about a month ago, we got a thing from the Kristen Ann Carr Foundation. It's the foundation that Barbara Carr and her husband started when their daughter died at the age of 21. So I got a request saying, their event was November 15th, and would we donate 300 books to put in his gift bags? So it's a hybrid book. I own these books. I said, of course. And then they said, well, would you like to come to the event? So I said, sure. So Andy and I went, and I bid on another radio show, which I'm doing in January. But, I'm just nobody. But I had done a podcast in September with this man, and he told me that he had shown Barbara Carter the book and that she bought a copy for her daughter, her grandson. And I'm like, why would she do that? But Andy and I are just sitting there alone at this event. We don't know anybody. We're just waiting to see what happened with this show that we bid on. And this podcast host comes over and he said, oh, Ann, Barbara texted me that you were coming tonight and I saw you registered. I want to bring you over. I want to bring you over to reconnect you with Barbara. And I'm like, she doesn't want to see me. No. But he insisted, and we go over, and she was just so nice. And then you know what she said to me? She said, they should have made a movie out of your book. She said that like 4 times. But and she said, would you come visit me in Connecticut? And I'm like, are you kidding? But so I don't know how I got on this story, but that's how I ended up getting that
autograph.
Yeah.
How amazing.
See, I have no stories, but here you just get me. See, if I think someone's interested, I keep going.
I'm so interested. I want you to promise me one thing.
What?
It's just one thing that I hope that I show up in your brain for the rest of your breathing life. And if you promise me one thing, I will so appreciate it, is that you never, ever, ever say, I am nobody ever again.
Well,
because Meredith Willits, a mother of 4 in the suburbs of Chicago, thinks that you're fantastic and that you changed a big part of this 53-year-old woman's life by writing this book, and that the universe and all the stars and all the heavens moved and changed and altered themselves so that all these amazing things would happen to you so that you could write this book, like not canceling your driver that one night before you went to bed and finding your flip phone when on the side table drawer, and all of the things. The universe and the stars moved for you. And if that happened, there's no way that you're nobody. And so don't.
I persevered, right? You have to tell people they need to persevere, right?
Yeah, you persevered, but just know that it's impossible for you to be nobody. It's impossible.
I just want to say, if there's anything people take from this, from me, it's never too late. Do not ever give up. It is never too late.
It's never too late. And everybody that's listening and everyone that's watching, please know, never say that you're nobody, because you are standing here, you woke up and you're breathing and you're worthy and you were born worthy. And no matter what the world brings at you and comes at you and what people say, that is through their perspective, and that you are worthy of love and you're worthy of an amazing life and you're worthy of all the goodness. And I so appreciate you. And I appreciate you.
A teacher once said to me, Ann, take up a little space on the planet.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you. And I will think about what you said. And I will think about it. And I will try really hard. So thank you. Thank you. It really means a lot to me to hear your objective opinions.
Yeah, I have no reason. I have no reason to say it outside of it's absolutely true. And listen, I tell people all the time, being mean to yourself is never going to get you where you're going. You got on that airplane because of survival, but also because of love. And you can only get to the things that you want in this life through love. You cannot hate yourself enough to get up. You cannot hate yourself enough to get on that bike. You cannot hate yourself enough to write another book. It's only by way of love. And so give yourself a squeeze on those really difficult days, because it feels really, really good. And know that you got at least one person over here that loves you very, very much and is so appreciative of you. And if you could never, ever say, I'm nobody ever again, you're doing me at least a huge favor, because you inspire me. And the whole time I was reading your book, I'm like, where am I going to go? And so I appreciate you for that. So thank you very much for being here.
Let me know where you go. Okay.
I will. I've got your email address now.
Okay. And I'll learn how to look at my messages.
That's okay. That's okay.
Write or email me. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Another episode of TikTok Famous. And I will see you all here next week. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the TikTok Famous Podcast with Meredith Willits. If you're loving the unfiltered stories and behind-the-scenes truths, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show. Until next time, let's get famous.